Marhaba and hello to our brothers and sisters all around the world. I'm American writer and historian Jack Dempsey. I live in Crete these days, and my colleague and dear friend here is Muhammad Jihad Ismael, a Palestinian writer and historian living in Deir al-Balah, which is part of the Gaza territory. Today is September 20th, 2022. And we, as usual, are just trying to keep the discussion and conversation alive about the situation of the Palestinians under apartheid in Israel. Muhammad today is going to share some updates on the situations in Gaza, the West Bank, and Jerusalem. But as usual, too, we always ask people to please take a moment to send an email, a letter, a phone call to your government representative to try to demand change of government policies that continue and hold apartheid in Israel in place. So my part in this today, after Muhammad updates you in all kinds of very, I think, important ways about the situation in Palestine on the ground, I'm going to give you some information and a sample letter that, if it will help you, you can use to write to appropriate congressional representatives that are actually already speaking and involved about the Palestinian situation. So Muhammad, after that long introduction, as usual, tell us the basics of daily life in Gaza right now. We know there are food shortages, water shortages. Tell us about those things and more, please.
Thank you, brother, for this.
I am sorry to interrupt, but I forgot. I have to tell the audience, there seems to be some kind of rumbling noise on our system somewhere. We cannot find where it is, but we still want to do this work with you and for you. So I hope you can bear with that, and we're going to go right to it. Muhammad, please forgive me the interruption, but tell us about your situation in Gaza today.
Yeah. Thank you, brother, for this new opportunity. I am happy to be speaking again for our friends and followers who are seeking the truth about what happened here on the Palestinian territories. The situation in Gaza is as usual. You know, we have continued siege since at least 14 years ago. We have a lack of food, a lack of so many goods here in the market, and also Gaza is affected by the war which happened between Russia and Ukraine. I mean the high prices. Prices here are very crazy in the local market. Everything is became the double in price. If you want to speak about rice, about sugar, about wheat, about cooking oil, etc.
And Muhammad, I'd like to point out just a couple of quick but important details in things that you've told me. For example, you were very happy to tell me today that you have been able to secure drinking water, clean water in bottles, I assume, for a supply of about 10 days. And this is because the water in Gaza itself is completely undrinkable. It ruins people's stomach, it affects their teeth, it gives them cancer. And meanwhile, the food crisis, we've often said this detail, but it's important for people to realize how difficult life is. If Israel allows 200 to 250 trucks full of food and supplies into Gaza each day, do the math with 2.5 million people trapped and imprisoned in Gaza. That means that about 12,000 people must supposedly get their daily nourishment from one truck. It's impossible. It's an international crime. So I just want people to know how serious the situation is, Muhammad. Thank you for your patience, and please continue. Tell us more about what your everyday life is like and what kinds of problems you're facing.
All the water in Gaza is polluted. Because here in Gaza, you know, we have a limited amount of water. Gaza is a semi-arid climate. You know,
Yes.
Gaza locate in southern Palestine between Sinai Peninsula and the Mediterranean coast. So the sources of water are limited. And if you want to compare those source of water with the population, you know, Gaza has more than 2.5 million. So the water quantity here in Gaza is limited and polluted in the same time. That's why we have so many chronic diseases and cancers.
And of course, people in Gaza raise their own food. They have great gardens and farm patches on the land, but the water is so polluted that it is also bringing these toxins into the food chain.
Exactly. And as usual, you know, we have a crisis in our electricity. So everything here is destroyed and catastrophic. If you want to speak about food, medicine, water, electricity, siege, there is no freedom of travel, no freedom of opinion, to speak, to express, to raise your voice. You are silenced, you are repressed. So frankly, life here is something very tough, and you cannot survive.
And you,
Unfortunately.
as you have told us too, there are three oppressive powers over the Palestinian people there. There's the PA and Hamas. They forbid elections to take place so that there can be no new leadership and new ideas. There is the Israeli apartheid government, which keeps you trapped and imprisoned there. And then there is the class of wealthy oligarchs who control the food supplies and water and all these things and charge higher prices so that they make an extra profit off the little food and water that's coming in. How people around the world can even imagine what life is like for you, I cannot imagine.
As you just mentioned, we are victims for three tyrants, for Israel, for PA, and Hamas. Can you imagine that we pay three taxes? We pay a tax for Israel, a tax for PA, and a third one for Hamas. On the other hand, we doesn't have, or we doesn't get benefit from any services. So you pay money, you pay taxes, but on the other hand, you doesn't take benefit from any service. From
And this
those
is
three.
Yeah. And this is exactly why, as you've said before, if there were elections, Hamas and the PA know very well, they are giving the Palestinian people nothing for their support or for their taxes and money. They are giving them nothing. The only way they survive politically is from outside funding with no supervision about the corrupt ways that that money is distributed. They would not survive politically for 3 months, you have said, without outside money.
Exactly. Here also, I am calling all our friends all over the world to write messages to the European Parliament members in the different European countries, just to try to make some pressure upon their governments, asking them first of all to follow up and make some control or some monitoring over the money that they send to PA and Hamas.
Yes.
They are sending hundreds of millions of euros each year, but they doesn't make any control over this money. So I think they are taking part in the Palestinian corruption of both PA and Hamas. They send money, but they are closing their eyes. They doesn't look where this money are going. So I ask all our friends just to make a sort of pressure over those governments who are helping this corruption in the Palestinian land.
And in a way too, you know, the Israeli apartheid government is in a vulnerable situation because they would not survive very long without money from the United States. And for all the money that the United States gives to Israel, what do they get for it? What does the United States get for all its support of Israel? They get more trouble all the time, more trouble all the time. And we will continue to talk about these and things and show what we mean. So continue, Muhammad, if you will. You said there were recent important developments in Gaza, in the West Bank, and in Jerusalem this week.
Yes, brother. First of all, let's start with Gaza. In Gaza, during the recent 72 hours, we have big demonstrations are being held in front of UNRWA headquarters office here in Gaza City.
UNRWA is what?
Yeah. Too much.
What is UNRWA?
UNRWA.
UNRWA. What does that mean?
Yeah. If you want to speak about the acronym, it stands for United Nations Relief and Working Agency.
Okay.
It's an international agency responsible for both, for relieving the Palestinian refugees and for providing them work or jobs. Yeah.
Okay, so there are big demonstrations in front of the UNRWA offices. Where is that, Muhammad? How many people are there? What is happening?
Yeah. I think there are hundreds of people are making marches in front of UNRWA headquarters, asking
where
UNRWA,
is that?
At Gaza City.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, brother. They're asking UNRWA to enhance its services here in Gaza and to enhance the support that UNRWA gives for the refugees, because as you know, the situation here is very, very bad and the humanistic condition is very, very destroyed. That's why we have too many people marching and demanding UNRWA to enhance the services. In West Bank, we have the continuous clashes between the IDF, the Israeli army, and some Palestinian military guerrilla groups, especially in Jenin city, in northern West Bank, and in Nablus, in central West Bank. Approximately each night we have some clashes in those cities, in Jenin and Nablus. The security in West Bank is not good these days, because every day we have those clashes, and this makes very, very bad impacts on the Palestinian economy and the Palestinian daily life. So people are not secure to get out of their houses each night, because at every minute you have to expect that Israeli army would make assault and make clashes with the Palestinian guerrilla groups. So this makes very, very bad situation in West Bank. So in Gaza,
I just want to point out, this has been going on in Jenin for many years. Jenin is a very important town. Jenin is a very important town, and for many years there have been clashes there because the Israeli army comes rushing and charging into the town in order to arrest people they think of as militants. Have people been killed on either side, Muhammad, injured? Do you happen to know?
Yes. Mostly there are killed people and injured people, and always in the Palestinian side. Most of the times we have killed people and injured people. Yes, Jenin is the biggest stroke facing the Israeli army. Always they face hardship in invading this city. And the Palestinians,
because it is a center of resistance. The Israelis do not like the resistance. And I want to tell people there is a very powerful film called Jenin, and the name is Jenin. Jenin. The film is called Jenin. And you can hear very strong interviews with residents of Jenin, Palestinians and Arabs, who talk about the long history of conflict in that place and the reasons for their continued resistance.
Yes, brother. Exactly as you just said, Jenin is the cruelest power and the cruelest rock facing the Israeli army. And if you go back to 2001, 21 years ago, when Ariel Sharon made the big invasion against the PA military power,
yes,
and against the cities who were ruled by PA, all the city folded rapidly, except Jenin. Jenin was sieged for more than 2 months. Very heavy clashes were taking place, and the Israeli army lost more than 100 soldiers and officers just in the surrounding of Jenin.
yes.
In their attempts to invade the city.
Yes.
So always Jenin is
Uh-oh, I hope we haven't lost Muhammad. His image has frozen and I am not hearing him. Let's give it a minute, my friends. I hope you can be just a little bit patient. The Israelis constantly interrupt our conversations on Zoom. I think he's coming back. We have had a lot of needless technical difficulties in just speaking between Crete and Gaza about these situations. I'm hearing Muhammad perhaps returning. Muhammad?
Yes, brother.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We are not seeing you yet, but I think we can honestly say that this is probably a symptom of the very low bandwidth that comes out of Gaza connecting to the world's internet. This is, again, a perennial problem for us when we just talk offline, so to speak. And Muhammad, I am not seeing you yet.
Me too. I cannot see you, but I think we have to continue. Maybe
Okay.
the last part.
Okay, so you tell me now, with the background we've sketched about Jenin and that there's a great commotion and agitation there, what is the trigger? What is the cause of this latest trouble in Jenin, and what do you think is going to happen? What is it about? What are the Palestinians saying, and what do the Israelis say back to them?
The Israeli army want to weaken and destroy any attempts in Jenin to build a big military power and to make some imitation for the military power of Gaza. Always the military guerrilla fighters in Jenin are trying to imitate Gaza and to build a big military power. So the Israeli army always tries to stop this ambition.
Yes.
That the people of Jenin have. That's why every time, maybe every night, every day, we have clashes between the Israeli army and the fighters of Jenin.
Now, as you mentioned too, there was a terrible massacre at Jenin not too many years ago, and Jenin has been a center of resistance since then. Muhammad, do you think it's the people of Jenin that are particularly resistant to the apartheid? Is it the position of Jenin on the landscape that makes it so important? Why is it such a center for these protests and conflicts?
Maybe maybe the topographic situation of Jenin helps them to be like a fort. Jenin is fortified with natural topography. If you want to speak about
obstacles
yes,
and parts of the landscape that make it difficult to come directly into the town. I see.
Exactly. So the strategic location of Jenin plays a big role. Also, the people of Jenin are refugees. Most of them are refugees, and here we have a rule: always the cities and camps who are occupied by refugees. At most of the cases, you find them more powerful in their resistance and in their fight against the Israeli army. So the Palestinian refugees always are fighting, and they have, I think, they have a bigger motive than the non-refugees.
And I think this is a good time to just point out to our brothers and sisters around the world who may be watching, you may have the impression, as I do, that this goes on and on and on. About 75 years now, Muhammad's family has been confined in Gaza for decades, okay? If we want it to end, we have to take action. We have to write and appeal to our own governments to stop supporting this situation and to demand change from Israel. Muhammad, you said there are also things happening in Jerusalem this week.
Yes, brother. The same situation. We have a continuous clashes. Of course, not armed clashes between the population, the Arab population of Eastern Jerusalem, and the Israeli settlers, the Israeli ultra-Orthodox religious settlers. We have this sort of struggle every hour, not every day, but every hour.
And
I think now
have more homes of Palestinian people been confiscated this week? Are they having clashes there because of more destruction of Palestinian communities there in East Jerusalem?
Yes. Every day, every hour, we have this sort of clashes because the Israeli settlers are looking to expel the Palestinian people out of their homes and to replace them and to take those homes for themselves. Every day, every hour, we have this sort of clashes. Now in this time, we have clashes there.
And look at our language, Muhammad, when you are saying that the settlers come into East Jerusalem to take people's homes or to knock them down and to throw the people out. This is not settlement. How do you come into a city that is hundreds of years old with hundreds of year-old families living there? How do you come into a city and call yourself a settler? You are an invader. An invader.
Exactly. Yes. Of course. They have no roots here in this city. But on contrary, if you want to speak about the Palestinian families, they have very extended, very long roots in this land.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is no comparison. There is no comparison at all between the original people, the indigenous people, and those invaders who came from Eastern Europe, from Poland, from Lithuania, from Romania, from Ukraine, etc.
Yeah. So, Muhammad, as our time goes on today, I want to just recap that in Gaza, the protests at the UNRWA offices to ask for more policing of the distribution of funds and to get more help for Palestinians. The conflict around Jenin in the West Bank, where the Israeli Defense Forces, as they call themselves, have been coming in again to arrest people and to harass people to break down their resistance. And in East Jerusalem, the continuing theft of people's homes by so-called settlers who are actually invaders. It's almost beyond the world's ability to think about all this going on. But do you feel, Muhammad, that because there is action in all three sections of the Palestinian community here, that there might be some new movement among the Palestinian people to try to change the situation?
I think there is no hope to have something like that because the Palestinian people are very, very exhausted. As I mentioned in the previous episodes, we are exhausted. Here in Gaza, our catastrophe is economic. Of course, we have resistance always against the Israeli army, but here in Gaza, people are suffering economically. In West Bank, they have good economy, but they have a crisis of security. In West Bank, in Jerusalem, they have good economy, but they have a crisis in their possession. So every day you have to defend your home to avoid being expelled out of this home. In the three areas, Gaza, West Bank, Jerusalem, I can say to you that people are very exhausted. I think we cannot do anything without external help. We need some help from our surrounding, from the Arab states, from our friends all over the world, from the European community, from the uprising new voices who are calling for justice in USA. I think with the collective efforts of all of those parts, I think we can achieve something. But alone, as a Palestinians, we cannot do anything because we are totally exhausted. We are crucified. We are crucified on the cross, exactly like our big hero, our ancestor, the Christ, Jesus the Christ, the Son of Nazareth.
Yes, and I think, Muhammad, that anybody listening to just this short program today will realize how incredibly credible it is that the Palestinians would be so exhausted and demoralized and impoverished and oppressed, and that nothing they can do anymore to change almost nothing to change the situation is going to happen without outside support. So if I may, with some of our last few minutes, I'd like to share information on where people can contact government representatives in the United States, perhaps for some hope. There's a United States Senator, his name is Chris Van Hollen. He's a Democrat from Maryland, and he has been working closely with the family of the murdered Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh for several months since her death to try to create an international criminal court investigation into that murder and to take from there new energy to try to galvanize American support, which includes American Jewish people, especially the youth nowadays, that in the United States are beginning to turn in a different way and to say, we're not going to support this kind of massive injustice. This is a line from historian Juan Cole, who asked in a column of his recently how Israeli and American officials plan to proceed now that Israel has admitted that Ms. Abu Akleh was likely killed by an Israeli soldier. Quote, since the Israeli government has now admitted the high likelihood that its sniper killed Shireen, surely it will now treat the killing as a form of manslaughter at the very least and punish the sniper? No, it won't, Juan Cole wrote, but surely it will pay reparations to Shireen's family? No, it won't. Surely the Biden administration in the United States will intervene to ensure justice is done for an American citizen, as Shireen was? No, it won't. So that is a summary of the state of the situation by which the Palestinians are pursuing justice under American law. And I have created a letter that people can send to Senator Chris Van Hollen. His website is Van Hollen, VANHOLLEN .senate.gov. That's vanhollen.senate.gov. And you can send him an email right there in less than 5 minutes. And it looks as though he reads them. The phone number there as well in his office is 202-224-4654. 202-224-4654. Also, there is the whitehouse.gov website to which you could also perhaps CC or copy your letter. And the following I'm going to just read quickly, is an example of a letter that would go right to the point, and I hope help people to actually take this kind of action. Dear Senator Van Hollen, I am so-and-so, a citizen of wherever you live, and I write first to thank you for your open support and congressional work for the family of murdered Palestinian journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was the 46th journalist killed by the forces of Israeli apartheid since 2000. With no justice in sight for Ms. Akleh, there have already been and will be more such killings. Please understand, Senator, that the world's great majority of people want the United States to act against them. Secondly, you know that the United States sends billions in economic and military aid to apartheid Israel in obvious violation of the Leahy Law amendments to the Foreign Assistance Act. Thus, the U.S. defies multiple United Nations resolutions that Palestinians have a full right to resist invasion and occupation. The U.S. also ignores findings by Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the latest United Nations Rapporteur's report, and Israel's own B'Tselem organization, that Israel's crimes against human rights are flagrant and deliberate. So I write to respectfully demand action for new, rigorous changes in United States policy that will stop such funding and dishonorable support for apartheid against Palestinians in Israel. We cannot support this any more than we support open racism in America or elsewhere. Apartheid is 1,000 forms of murder, and I respectfully demand action to end the United States' illegal, unqualified support for the Palestinians' dispossession from their homeland. Thanking you sincerely for your time, courage, and action. Your name. And I must stress, this man, Chris Van Hollen, really is showing a lot of courage, because the kind of political flack and criticism that people receive just for speaking up about the Palestinian situation is very politically costly. So I hope you may thank him in your heart and perhaps get in touch with him to let him know how many millions of people support change against this international crime. Muhammad, would you like to add anything before our time runs out today?
That's good, brother. I hope so many people are going to participate and to write the senators. Thank you so much for your efforts, brother.
And by the way, I will put all that information and the copy of the letter in the more info section of this video. So if you click on more info or show more, you will see all these things. You can even copy, cut, and paste it all you wish. Okay, Muhammad,
Good.
anything to
Good,
add
brother.
today?
No, nothing, brother. I am happy for today's episode. Despite of the technological barriers that someone used to put in front of us, trying to separate between us.
It surely seems that way, because I never have these kinds of technical problems talking with anybody else in the world on Zoom. And you and I always have these problems that seem to stop or interfere with or delay our contact and discussion.
Exactly, brother. Exactly.
And of course, we know that Israel listens to every single word that comes out of Gaza, right?
Of course, I am sure of that. But despite of this interruption from them, I think we use today to convey the message and we used to tell our friends about the fresh updates here in Palestine.
Muhammad, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to the world today about this situation. I really hope people will take it to heart and realize that it's time for action. And I send my wife and my love to you and your family. We will not stop working to change the situation.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much, brother. I hope in the coming time we are going to make more brilliant episodes, and I hope our followers and our watchers will participate in helping the Palestinian people just to achieve some justice in Palestine. All what we need is justice. We don't want to throw Jews in the Mediterranean. We never have such ambition. All what we want is to live side by side with those people as neighbors. We don't want to throw them in the Mediterranean. We want to live just in peace. We need the justice just to live in a secure life as humans.
And let me add, there is another film at YouTube called The Land Speaks Arabic. It's 1 hour of Palestinian and Israeli history showing that before the arrival of the Zionists in 1947-48, there was such peace, there was such equality and even brotherhood in the neighborhoods of Israel, Palestine, among Jews and Arabs and Palestinians and Christians and Muslims, and all the people that lived there lived more or less together. And that tells us that we can do this again.
Of course, we can do this again because already we did that for
That's right.
for long and extended centuries.
Yes, it's true.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother.
Muhammad, thank you once again, and I will see you at our next meeting. Thank you all to our brothers and sisters around the world.
Thank you too. Thank you, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.